Oh, there's the waste. Really good. Morning, Robert.
Morning, how you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Good, good.
Good. So you have a large cup of coffee to get you through?
Yeah. Much needed most of the time.
Yes. Excuse me. Okay, let me race straight into the first of many sessions today.
Yeah.
We're going to cope with the rest of the menus that we didn't cover on Monday.
Cool.
Let me just get rid of these.
I don't know if it works for you, Graham. It's fine if it doesn't, but obviously I've got the session at 12:30 as well. Is there anyone else on that session?
Nope.
Would it be worth just running from this one straight into that one rather than having the half an hour gap? Or
that's entirely dependent upon your ability to absorb huge amounts of information, Robert. If you're happy, I'm very happy. Yep.
Yeah, that'll work well for me.
Okay, good. Let me switch over into then this presentation. Okay, so you're seeing the first slide on the screen?
Yes.
Good. This one you know all about because you've seen it before. This is what we're going to do today, which is basically everything else that wasn't in the one we did on Monday afternoon. So all the menu items, and then we'll have a session that actually puts some of them to use, using some of the more unusual ones so that you get the hang of it. So usual rules, you feel free to interrupt at any time if something isn't clear, that you know all about. All right, so the second row menus are these ones here, basically all the icons on the second line on your Parish Online screen. We'll just go through each one quite quickly, one by one. And as before, you'll get a copy of the presentation and the recording. So if anything's unclear now, you can check it later. So the home menu just takes you back to the starting point, which is useful if you are sort of trapped way down in some high zoom level and you want to get out of it. Just clicking on the home map takes you straight back to where you want to be. If you have layers previously selected, they remain turned on. You don't kill them all off. Next item to discuss is the previous view, which is exactly what it says it is. It takes you back to where you were on your previous screen. And then it's repeatable, so you can go back and back and back and back and back. If there was a layer that you had turned on for the first one, it stays turned on for all the others, and theirs don't come on. But that's a sort of a minor detail. Just it's you know what you'd expect it to be, straightforward. Drag zoom, on the other hand, this little icon is a completely different matter. So normally, if you left click and then drag the mouse, it enables you to just scroll. So here we're going to drag left click on the pond and move it. And we've moved all the way to the left, or rather we've moved the pond to the left, so it's disappeared off the bottom. And there's a new pond here on the right. Now this time we're going to do the toggle drag on. Notice that it's underlined when you've got it turned on. If we now do a click drag, I'm going to select this building up here. So we've taken this area. Click drag draws a rectangle around your selected object, and then letting it go expands it. So it's just a very fast way of zooming in on something. Just drag zoom.
Yeah.
It turns itself off automatically, so you'll see the underline has disappeared. So each time you want to use it, just click it again. Very straightforward. The annotate layers item is the one that looks like a list. It just brings you all the annotate items you may have previously created, and you can show them all at one time on the screen. So we've got 3 here. If we turn to the screen, whoops, there's nothing there. Sorry, I didn't. And then let me click on the annotate layers icon, and lo and behold, up come all the previous annotations we put in place. By sheer chance, Robert, they all refer to this piece of ground. But if you have them all over here, all over the place, then the screen shrinks to show them all.
Right.
Okay, so basically the screen adjusts to show every annotation you have in place at any one time. It's recommended that you don't leave annotations there on a permanent basis. It's supposed to be a sort of a one-time thing that you use for a presentation. You can leave it there as long as you might be making the presentation to 2 or 3 places, one after the other, whatever it happens to be. But as a general rule, they suggest that you turn you delete annotations when you finish with them. They just they clutter things up in the way. Otherwise, it's not meant to be a permanent thing. All right. So the next item is the search button, which you're familiar with that, I think, because we showed it before with the searching in the flood. So you click on the space, you type in the word you're looking for, and the system finds whatever layers there are that contain that word. So in this case, it comes up with 3. We're going to click on natural habitats this way, this time, as opposed to flooding itself, just because there's an interesting correlation here. So the colored bits show the type of agricultural use for each piece of land. So I'm suggesting you take a look at the yellowish stuff, whatever color that is, and just look at the approximate shape. And you'll be astonished to discover that the yellow refers to grassland. So if we have sort of a grade 4 landing, but that is effectively grassland. But if we now go back to the flood collection screen and select the zone 3 for flooding, it's almost exactly the same shape. Amazing, isn't it? So grass in Somerset is quite happy to be flooded, and that's why they grow it there. So it's just interesting correlation between the Department of Agriculture that says this is what you're growing here, and the Department of Flooding and says this is why. That's all. Very complicated. So we've talked about each of these icons. We're now that's dealt with the second row. We're now going to move on to what I call the mini menus. And there's one in layers, there's one in features, and then there's a subplot of feature menu layers. So if you look at the layers column here, you'll notice that any collection that has an underlying layer turned on has got a circle around the mini arrow.
Right.
If you right click anywhere in one of these layers, you can turn on or turn off all of the layers underneath. So this is what known as collections. These are really collections of layers, but right clicking anywhere in there will turn on every layer underneath. So if we go to asset register and we right click in asset register and toggle that, then it doesn't look as if anything different has happened. But if we now click on the mini arrow, you can see we've turned on every layer in the asset register, and they've all popped up here. So toggle again, right click in there, and oops, sorry, that one, and they've all gone off. If you right click in a layer itself, as opposed to the collection level above it, then it brings up this mini menu here, which you've seen before because we used it to do the add feature on Monday afternoon. But the mini menu itself, its contents will vary depending upon which layer you're in. So if you're in a parish layer, which is the usual place because you want to add a feature or change the style, you'll get up to 6 choices. But if you click anywhere else, you may well get far fewer. There'll always be at least one, which will be the transparency slider. But on third-party layers, you have no control over them. You can only change the transparency. So you'll always get at least one option, but in other places you get up to 6. So that's the mini menu in the layers. And I'm going to explain these to you. So the transparency slider you know about, add feature you know about. Style is where we go to add labels, icons, highlights, and do color coding. You know, if it's finished, it's in green. If it's still under construction, it's in red, that sort of thing. Table view, I think we touched on when we went through the table menu. but this is just a quicker way of doing it, because when you go into the table menu, you have to select the layer that you want to show. But if you actually click on the layer here, you're already in it. So the table view takes you straight to the table. Ditto for the extents, which we touched on the other day, but basically that's what the bottom left and top right corners are of a screen. So you can send that to people and they'll look at exactly the same screen that you're looking at. And a filter is fun. We've looked at versions of the filter before in the table view, but this is a better version. But basically this mini menu, when you right click on any layer, is a much more convenient way of doing these options. You can do exactly the same options by going through the top level menu, except style. You can't get the style any other way but this way. But this, I think, this mini menu is faster. Moving on. So I'm just going to explain transparency. We're on maps here. Everything shows through because we're on 100% transparency. If we change that, then we've now turned off all the data from Ordnance Survey, and all you've got left is basically the blank map with the name of each parish, and that's it. So all the detail has disappeared, and that just shows you what the slider does. If you have two layers on, so here we've got the Ordnance Survey stack and we've got the photography, and again, you've seen this, we've turned off the Ordnance Survey stuff, so you see 100% photograph. If you turn photography 100% off, then, or leave the transparency 100% on for the Ordnance Survey stuff, which is the same effect, the aerial photography disappears and the transparency is 100%. So you want something that's sort of in the middle, which shows both the overhead photography and the map, which can be very helpful to people to orientate themselves and find out where they are. When you're looking at an overhead photograph, it could be anywhere in the world. But when you start putting the map details on, then all of a sudden it springs into focus. Mm. Okay, so the second item on the mini menu was add feature. You know all about that. This is basically where you put a brand new record in the left-hand column, you fill in the blanks, you put something on the map, and bingo, you're done. And as we mentioned before, you have to complete any required column, plus put something on the map before the save button will become alive. Otherwise, it stays grayed out. Again, you know all this, but not everybody does. Mm-hmm. Now, this is more interesting. Style is the third choice here. And it only comes up on a parish layer because that's the only layer that you have control of the style over. But when you go into style, it comes up with a page of 4 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4. On the left is where you are going to choose what you do for style. This is basically, we do a whole topic on style, a whole session, but this is where you put it into place. Well worth playing with this one because it's you can have the most amazing effects with style. I like style, very useful. Perhaps the most useful thing is that on the right hand side, the preview shows you that whatever you've done, what it will look like on the map. So when you start making changes here, you'll see the changes over here in the preview. Very convenient. All right, finally, well, not finally, sorry, if we're on any of your parish layers and you right click, you can go into table view. Again, you've seen this before because you've done the 102 session, but basically gives you a chance to edit a whole bunch of records. If you want to do multiple edits at the same time, this is the fastest way of doing it. It's also the way of getting an export of data to a spreadsheet. And I think this is the extent one that we're showing here. Yes, I didn't make that very clear. So if we look at we've turned on the planning applications for 2019, and we can see on this scale, 1, 2, 3, 4 planning applications. Note that this one is more or less in the middle of the map. If we now select go to extent, which is the current mini menu we're looking at, you'll see and click on it, then the screen changes to include every feature on that particular layer. So this is really helpful if you've got a layer that covers quite a wide range of the map. Then if you click on extent, that shows you every single feature. It basically adjusts the map to the right scale to include all of them. So here you'll see that it shrunk down so that this top one has been able to come in. And the one that was in the middle has now moved down to the bottom to make room for the guy at the top. So basically, very quick way of seeing how many features have you put on a specific and one particular layer. Really convenient in a way. Well, I mean, in a way, it really is convenient. All right, so we're going to go into filter now. So bear in mind, we've still got these 4 planning applications visible. If I click on filter, it says, what do you want to click on? Now I've put 4 separate actions on the same page here, but you would go through these one by one. So when the box pops up, the first thing you're going to select is which column are you going to filter on? And when you click on that little arrow, it brings up this choices of columns that you have. And we're going to click on the application number. So going down to the the bottom left, you can see we've now selected the application number, and we're going to select what sort of filter are we going to use, and we're going to select contains. And the 4th one right here, we said we want to see all the applications that involve the word house, or talking about houses. So basically you've gone through 4 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're ready. So we click on save. And bingo, you've only got now the one application in all those 4 that were up here that was to deal with house. So if you look at the layer here, it's got a blue filter icon showing you that a filter is in place. So you're not seeing everything, you're seeing only those that you've filtered for. So just to remind you of where we are, a recap, we've looked at all 5 menus in the 2nd row. That was sort of the drag zoom and the go home and the undo and that sort of thing. We've looked at the variations of the mini menus, which is all 6 choices. And now we've got the mini menus that are going to come up when you click on a feature. So if you right click on almost any feature in Parish Online, you'll get a mini menu of options. So I'm going to right click here on Nightlands Farm. And up pops a choice of 3 items. And each one of these 2 creates their own mini menu. Add feature brings up the usual thing, the feature editor, and asks you to roar ahead and add whatever you want to do. So it's, again, another shortcut to adding a feature. If we go over to copy and hover there or click on the little arrow, it'll bring up the 2nd mini menu. And I think we touched on this when we dealt with view coordinates in Basics 102. So there's nothing new here for you, it's just a different way of getting there. So the idea is to reduce the amount of mouse movement you have to do. Instead of having to go up to view coordinates in the top left corner, you can come down and right click straight onto a building and come up with the coordinates here. So clicking on coordinate gives you the British National Grid output, which is sort of an unrecognizable decimal number. Or if you choose the coordinates lat long, you get a decimalized lat long, but at least you can recognize sort of the 51 degrees for where we are roughly in Britain. And in your case, you're in Caen, we were in about 2.3 degrees left of Greenwich. The outputs get copied to your clipboard, so you can then cut and paste them into anywhere that you like that's convenient. And this is an example of the output. So here's the coordinates. Now, these are all of exactly the same place. So look at the difference. The coordinates in British National Grid are not recognizable. The ones in that long, roughly based on Long Sutton in Somerset, not far from you. And the extent is basically the whole screen that we were in. So you can feed those back into view coordinates and get taken back to the same farm that you started from. Second choice, is bookmarks. If we hover over bookmarks, again, nothing here that you haven't seen before. It's the same as view bookmarks. You see all the existing bookmarks, and you can add a new one. So you can either jump to any one of these that you wish, and this is a scroll down list, or you can just create a new one for whatever's on the screen that you're at. And now we come down to the bottom. It's a bit busy, the bottom layer of Parish Online. So what we're going to talk about is the bottom layer of the left-hand column is usually the list of collections and layers. Next to it, you have a row of 3 dots in a vertical line, and we'll go into each of the choices that brings up. The middle one here tends to be, most of the time, the username with which you're logged on. And here I always log on as the parish council so that my bookmarks are visible to everybody. But this does change at various times during the session. The scale, this varies with every screen you're on, depending on how much you've zoomed in or out. And your location, this is a triple choice here. This will vary depending on what you select. Ditto for the toggle mask, that will vary. And the service indicators over here are just basically information. So let's go through each of those one by one. Starting with the menu dots. If you click on them, you get 2 choices. Geolocation is almost entirely to do with running Parish Online on your mobile phone. So one of the things that I really like about Parish Online is if you've got all of your parish assets listed, and then you want to say, let's take a photograph of every park bench that we're responsible for, you can run Parish Online on your smartphone. If you've got geolocation turned on, it'll track you in the same way as Google Maps tracks you. And when you go and stand in front of a bench and take a photograph, it'll very nicely add that photograph to the specific record in Parish Online. So let's just suppose you've got a park with 10 benches in. To get 10 photographs of the benches, you can just walk out, stand in front of each one, snap it, and it'll link in to the appropriate record in Parish Online. I think it's very sweet. But you can only do that if you've turned geolocation on. So that's the purpose of this mini menu here. I don't think it makes any difference whatsoever to Parish Online running on a computer. It's just for smartphone use. And then remove overlays is straightforward. It's like a toggle of all the layers, but it takes all of them off. So you're left with just the green selection that you may have in place. Okay. Scale indicator, straightforward. It just gives you an indication of how much distance is involved depending on the scale you're in. So both of these are measuring 500 meters, but obviously when you're zoomed in, this is a much larger excuse me, distance covered or rather it takes more to show that particular distance, whereas this one where you zoomed out, you see it in a much shorter distance. Excuse me, just taking coffee for dry throats. All right, so I mentioned that there were several multi-user or multi-choice areas. And the first one was the one next to the triple dots. Normally shames the use of shows the name of the user account, but if you've gone up into select in the top right corner of Parish Online, you've got text in there, you're selecting on a specific address or a postcode, then this line changes from your logged in address to this clear search text. And you can just click on there. It empties the search box and takes you back to just your regular role, and you see your user account logged in there. So it's just another shortcut to clearing a particular part of the screen. Second multi-use area is this one here, which is controlling basically what the pointer shows or what the coordinates are, depending on what you've chosen. So there are 3 choices you have here, and the shape of this icon will vary according to the first one. So if we've got and to change the icon, you just click on it once. So if it's got the dot in the middle of it, it shows you what the dot represents when you put it in place using that postcode search or an address-based search. So you may remember when we did a search, it puts a dot in the middle of the postal code area if you've chosen the postcode, or precisely on top of the specific building if you're using the address space. And what this one does is tell you, and the dot in the middle is a bit of a clue, that the dot is at this British National Grid coordinate. Again, it's just another way of getting the same information out as you would do if you right-clicked on the same dot. If you, on the other hand, click once and you come up with an empty icon, then what you're doing is showing the left-hand edge and the right-hand, bottom left corner and top right corner of the screen that you're looking at the moment. I'm not sure I've ever seen when anyone has found this useful, but it's there. And click once more and you come up with this sort of teardrop effect, which tells you where the mouse is. And again, as soon as you move the mouse, this changes accordingly. And I'm not at all sure how useful that is either, but I don't think I've ever used it in real life, but obviously somebody at some point has asked for it because it's there. Or maybe the manufacturer, Geosphere, felt that you would need to know this. So the same area of your screen can do 3 different choices of information depending on how you toggle on the icon. Okay. Now we come to the toggle map mask, which is that's sort of fun and it's very visible. There are 2 controls here. The left-hand one is an on-off switch. You know, if it's grayed out and to the left, then it's off. And if it's green and the dot is to the right, then it's on. And then the second one, the icon doesn't change, but it does toggle you between various types of mask. So there are 3 options here. First of all, it's important to know that these options activate outside your parish boundary. So you'll see the impact only if A, you're looking at your parish boundary in the first place, and B, you've got the toggle map mask toggled on. But if it's off, you see no masking at all, everything's perfectly normal. If you toggle it on and then you click once on this, you get a light transparent mask, and we're going to show you examples of each of these. If you toggle that again, the icon doesn't change, but you get a dark transparent mask. And if you toggle it again, still the icon doesn't change, but you get a white mask. Now, I'm just going to show you each of those now on the next slides. So here's an ordinary map. Mask is off, so you don't see any distinction between the various parishes. They're all just there. And both of these are grayed out, so you don't see anything. Now we're going to turn it on, so you get the green map, and this icon is lit up. And it's not desperately clear, but you can see that your own home parish is slightly brighter than the rest of them. So it's a way of pointing out to people the boundary, if you will, between your parish and the next door ones. However, the other masks are much more obvious. So if we toggle again on that button, then we get a dark mask. So you're still on, and the icon looks exactly the same it has before, but you've toggled it, and now it's crystal clear, which is the parish that you're talking about. You're the center of all attention. Right-click toggle once again on the right-hand icon, and it turns out everything else. So again, it's blindingly obvious that we're talking about this particular part of the country. This is very useful when you're printing things out on the print function, because whatever's outside here is not there to distract anybody. You're just concentrating on your parish. So that's the toggle mask. Again, not often used in action, but it's there. There's what is usually a green flash symbol at the bottom of your screen, and it's just telling you which parts of Parish Online are working properly. So it's only of any interest if it turns red. And if you turn it red, if it turns red and then you click on it, it will show you which one of these is the problem. If you're in deep trouble, if they've all gone red, the system's gone down completely. We have occasionally seen it with one of them goes off where there's been a glitch somewhere. It's usually an area outside the control of XMAP, so it's to do with their Amazon Web Services or something like that, but not necessarily. And usually it comes back within a minute or three. We have had a session, I think, once where they've been out for longer than that, but it's very rare. The system is very reliable. But anyway, this is where you can find out what the problem is if this turns red. And you can work out from here whether it affects you. Obviously, if the print service has gone down, you're not going to be able to print anything. And finally, the most right-hand option is a little bell. And when you click on it, it brings up a list of new ideas that they've recently brought out. I don't think they've updated this in a while. They may have forgotten that it's there, but basically the bell changes color. I can't remember if it goes red or green. I think it goes green. You can click on it, or you can click on your icon now and it'll show you the current state of affairs, but I suspect it's not really different from what I'm showing here. So basically, we've now, as a recap, covered all the menus on the system that we didn't cover in the first session. In particular, we've gone through the bottom row in a hurry in the last few minutes. I remind you that the help and support system is under the services cogwheel. You want to click on help and support when that comes, the mini menu drops down, and that takes you straight to the knowledge base and the community forum. I can't remember if have we shown you that? Maybe not.
I think you might have shown it briefly.
Yeah. So anyway, basically, the knowledge base is where you can go for help on a specific topic. Nearly every topic has got a very short video that runs on it. A couple of them are very long videos. Sometimes you can go up to 40 minutes, but most of them are 2 or 3 minutes. I think they're very helpful, but then you also get a step-by-step text way of going through the same thing. So if you're a person who learns easily from videos, they're available. But if you're a person who's a bit slower on the pickup and you want to go through step-by-step, that's available as well. The knowledge base is reasonably new. They changed it about 6 months ago. The previous system had lots of shortfalls. This one, I think, is very much better. They've rewritten most of the articles in the system so that they're all bang up to date and much easier to understand. It's a great system, the knowledge base. It's also where you can open a ticket. So if you have a problem and you want Geosphere themselves to solve it, open a ticket and they'll get onto it quite quickly. The response rate is very impressive. I don't think I've had any ticket that hasn't been answered in more than an hour. Most of them are just a few minutes. They leap onto the tickets very quickly. However, the community forum is also a way of trying to enable users to help each other. So in the community forum, which is again got through by going on the help and support drop down from the services cogwheel, you basically get the option to create a question that goes up in front of everybody who happens to be logged in. So you've got 1,800 parishes across the country using Parish Online. So there's usually somebody logged in, but they don't all know yet about the community forum. But somebody will answer your question, hopefully almost straight away. I get told every time somebody writes something there. So usually I'll pop in if I'm available, if I'm in the middle of a training session or out driving the wife around somewhere, then I'll come up and help answer. So lots of ways of getting answers in Parish Online. And you can always email me or try calling me, whatever. If you're stuck, I'll be very handy to help you out. So that's basically how you get help in Parish Online. Now, this is the bit where you do the work and I sit back and chortle and drink coffee. So here is my challenge to you, Robert. Without using any main menu, i.e. from the items on along the top, or any menu in the left-hand column, can you add a feature to a layer of your choice? Can you add a bookmark to that feature? And can you copy the coordinates to that feature? And then just for fun, having got those coordinates, stick them back into view coordinates and see if they point back to your feature. And frequently they don't. And that's the reason that we do this exercise, because it shows people how easy it is to make a mistake, but how even easier it is to recover from it.
Mhm.
So there's the challenge. Hopefully you'll remember enough from what we've done this morning to be able to do this. And then the more quickly that you've done it, of course, the more quickly we can go on to the next session, as you suggested. So I'll come up to here and keep an eye on you so I can see when you're caught up.
Cool.
Whether you've got a blank look of astonishment on your face. So have a go at that.
So I'm trying to add, I'm putting a tree in the tree layer,
Good.
but I've put it on, and now when I'm trying to click on it to reselect it, it's not kind of doing anything.
Okay, let's come in. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and invite you to share yours.
Cool.
And we'll take a look at it.
Share screen. Hopefully that's come up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Right. Nice tree. Yep.
I've plotted that there.
Right.
It'll do it now, but I'm left clicking on it, but it doesn't seem to be selecting it.
That's interesting, isn't it? What happens if you zoom in a bit further? And yeah, and if you can you stay zoomed in, or won't it stay zoomed in?
It is zooming in, but it keeps scaling in.
Whoa, look at that. Isn't that interesting? Could you do a refresh of your screen, please, Robert? So top, yeah, exactly. Let's just see if you got stuck in the cloud somewhere or what happens.
Yeah.
So you probably need to come up with your tree layer now. If you turn on your tree layer.
Yep. So, trees. Yep.
Yep. And which one is the test? That one?
It's that one.
Ooh, interesting. Oh, you're right clicking to get that. There you go. No. Is that the one tree test? There it is.
Yeah.
Good. It was just the refresh needed.
Right.
Okay, well, that's good. So you added it there.
Yep.
Did you succeed in bookmarking it, or we haven't got that far yet?
I'd not got that far because
okay.
So obviously I've right clicked now, and I'll add the bookmark.
And just call it a tree test or a test tree, whatever. Yeah. Good.
Test.
That's fine.
Save.
And then we wanted to go ahead and get a coordinate, either lat long or coordinate, whichever one you wish.
That one.
So you've copied and pasted that now. So if you go into view print, oh, sorry, you've copied it, you haven't printed it yet, pasted it yet. So go into view and coordinate finder.
Yeah.
Yep. Which one did you copy? Was it the lat long or the for coordinates?
Coordinates, I think it was.
Okay, so that's the British National Grid. So just go ahead and paste into there. And now what you're going to do is exactly, well, rather than delete it, I hope you're copying that. Okay, and just copy it in. Yep, good.
Yeah.
That's very smart. Well done. All right, search. Look at that. You've come back to the same place. That's full marks. I usually end up somewhere in the North Sea.
Yeah.
So well done, Robert. That's brilliant. Great stuff. Well, it must be the quality of the teaching.
Yes, definitely.
That's great stuff. All right, I'm very impressed. Nicely done. If you want to delete it, go ahead and do so.
Yeah. So deleting the bookmark, that obviously doesn't delete the feature, does it? No.
No, as you say, it just deletes the bookmark.
So to delete the feature, I'm on the tree test, delete.
It's gone. There you go.
Lovely. And does that'll
disappear as soon as you refresh,
right.
As soon as you log off. That's just the view coordinates dot.
Okay.
Okay, so if you can come out of sharing your screen, I'll go back into mine and we'll just finish off this session and go into the next. So let me go there, let me go there, there we go. So
remembering to refresh it quite often, well, not quite often, if there's an issue, that's a good thing to remember, because otherwise you just think you're doing stuff wrong.
Are you using a Mac or are you using a PC with Windows?
It's a PC with Windows.
Oh, you must be very used to refreshing then. Every time something goes wrong with Windows, the solution is to start again.
Yeah.
So good. All right, next slide is the question and answer session. Do you have any queries on what we've done so far this morning?
No, nothing with what we've done.
Okay, you're happy to go straight on to the next one?
Yes, definitely.
All right, let's do that. So I'll come out of this one. I'll go up and open another. And we need, oh God, we're nowhere in the right place. Let's go. Come on, you can do it. There we go. 107 we're doing, right?
Yes.
Now, some of this you might find immediately repetitive because
Yeah.
the hints and tips often just go back over the ground that we've already covered, but
Yeah.
never mind. Let me just share, oops, slideshow, start at the beginning. All right, we're all set to go. Usual front screen. What we're going to cover, how to make it faster, easier to use, make you more productive, and give you examples we can play as you wish at the end. So these are obvious. It can really help if you've got two screens. Have you got two screens?
I do have two screens. Yeah.
So we're already there. The more you use it, guess what? The faster you get. But if you are in a position where you can use this every day, then that makes a huge difference to your ability to. I guess you're in Cairns, so it doesn't matter about your broadband. You've got plenty. This is often for people who are working from home. Most of this stuff,
right? Yeah.
I would ignore it unless you've got a weak Wi-Fi signal where you are and you've got no wired cable internet or Ethernet connection, but you're probably fine, aren't you?
Yeah.
So yeah, practice makes perfect. That's bloody obvious. Use Parish Online for more of your daily activities if you can. So a lot of the examples that come now, what you can do in Parish Online that you might have been doing in other stuff beforehand. So this is the base of the idea that people find things with their eyes. So if they want to know more about the village hall, then fill the village hall with all the instructions that they're going to need. So for instance, the Wi-Fi password is it what everyone wants to know when they get to the village hall. So it's there. They can just go and have a look at it. And what you might want to consider is putting this particular facility into the village website using public map, which we're going to get to later today. So this is just my way of suggesting you can make the facilities of Parish Online available to everybody, and the sorts of things that people want to know is, how do we turn on the sound system when we're in the village hall and we're having a birthday party and someone's got their sort of their favorite playlist on their iPhone. So how do we get that into the sound system? So all that sort of information is here. So just to demonstrate, I've clicked on Wi-Fi passwords and bingo, there they are, the two passwords for the two main hall and the committee room. And that's anyone can see here. And then the attachment here is what we print out, and so just like everybody else, we laminate the passwords and stick them up on the notice board, stick them in the entrance to the kitchen, that sort of thing, so everyone can find them. But the place to keep the document is here so that people know where to find it in the future. You don't have to go searching through a filing cabinet. Here it is in Parish Online. So I'm suggesting that there's no reason why Parish Online can't become your filing system. Again, it makes you use it much more frequently, which is the whole point of this presentation. So, and this is what the document looks like. So where would you go to find last year's children's playground report? Well, guess what? You go to the children's playground. You click on the icon and up comes all the attachments down here. And you can look at them and see exactly what we've said. So again, you're just getting the stuff out of the filing cabinet onto a computer where everybody can access it. It's quicker and easier for everyone. And again, you're making them use Parish Online, which means they'll become much more familiar with it. So this is simple. I'm just sort of telling you what I've already told you. This is important though. When people move, a lot of their knowledge goes with them unless they've stored it in Parish Online. And basically, again, a transition, if you're, in particular, if you're a parish clerk, then it's easier to pass over to your replacement how the system works, because again, it's all online, it's all within where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And you, of course, are going to get promoted, and so someone will take over your job, but it's much easier if it's all on Parish Online. So again, we've got villages that run their parish council meetings from within Parish Online, and there's a video here. I send you the link that you can look at it if you wish. Some of it's a bit out of date now. The video is a couple of years old, but the principles are much the same. basically what they're saying is you need a large screen in the room where you're holding your meeting, which nowadays is fairly common for village halls and village hall committees and parish councils and parish council meetings. I recommend that if you're going to do that, you need somebody as a third party to run Parish Online for you, because the clerk is going to be busy taking notes. The chairman's going to be busy going through the agenda. So it needs a third party that can say, we're now discussing planning application wobbly wop, and you bring it straight up onto the screen. And when the sort of council makes a decision on parish application wobbly wop, you can put that decision straight in right there and then, and it's immediately live on the parish website because you public mapped it to it. And of course, the person running Parish Online needs to be Parish Online literate. And just out of interest, and I'm speaking now from personal experience, the person running Parish Online can be 100 miles away. You can just come in remotely, and he's doing everything that's showing on the screen that everyone's looking at, thanks to the marvels of Zoom. So I've recently moved away from Long Sutton in Somerset, but I'm still a parish councillor there, and I run the parish meetings within Parish Online from the Isle of Wight, where I live at the moment.
Okay.
Which is fun. So you need to make some preparations in order to do this smoothly. And what we've done is say any links that you need within the parish minutes or the agenda are already in place on the agenda. So, you know, one of the early items at any meeting is the minutes of the last meeting, just putting them on a link. And then if I'm driving the system from remotely, I will just click on the link and up will come the last minute meetings so that everybody can see what you talked about last month and whether they still agree to them or whether there are any matters arising. And then this is verbal, so we can't do anything about that. That's verbal, so we can't do anything about that. But then we get the planning applications portal, so I put a link into there. But then there's a link into Parish Online for every one of the applications that are under discussion today. So step one is set up your agenda as a series of hyperlinks, and then you can just jump to the appropriate link during the meeting. It's very effective. It does work. Step two, you're probably familiar with this because you're in South Somerset, and this is the South Somerset District Council's planning portal. But again, you're looking to make sure that everybody who's present in the meeting knows where they can go to find out answers later. And if you click on the Documents tab, up comes the appropriate information for that particular application. And when we put a planning application into Parish Online, we make sure that the link in it goes directly to this particular page. So you can always look up the documents for whichever application you're talking about. Again, we discussed this in Parish Online 101. The view bookmarks will let you come on and you can just jump to any planning application. We talked about using Control F to find the application. So I've typed in here 2201.261, and then the whole Parish Online has highlighted it. So although this Control F is outside Parish Online, it works very nicely within Parish Online. It's very convenient. In your browser, set up Parish Online in as many tabs as there are mappable items on the agenda. So what I mean by that is there are 3D planning applications on the agenda, so set them up in advance. And then when you go through the meeting, you can jump from tab to tab with the control key. So if you type Control 2 in Windows, it'll jump you straight to the second tab. And inevitably, so Control 8 will jump you up to the 8th tab if you've got 8 planning application. But it means that you're very smoothly working through your meeting without anybody having to wait for the IT to catch up. So when they say we've dealt with application 1, now let's move to application 2, it's just a matter of hitting Control 2. So that's I think it's a huge advantage. And because Parish Online is a multi-user system, you can have as many tabs as you like opened up in Parish Online, and each one is you set up your bookmarks so you're already in the right place. It's just, again, a way of speeding up so that people are not getting fidgety or upset because it's taking time for the screen to come up in bloody technology, you know. So we jump to Control 2. Control 2 is already set up on this screen. This is the object under discussion, and it makes easy. You can jump back to the agenda should you wish to, just with an Alt tab. Again, a lot of parish clerks are not as computer literate as you are, so this will all be news to them. I have quite a lot of people on the interactive sessions who've got no idea how to jump between the Zoom session and Parish Online. But so some of this is written for those people, so I'm sorry about it, but I'm stating the obvious for you, but you're not the only person seeing this meeting. Okay, so this is just a summary of what we've been talking about. Basically, this is all straightforward. You know about this. The parish council thus has full and fast access to all the documents and the relevant map to make a thorough discussion. Remember, the whole point of Parish Online is to enable people to make better informed decisions. So by making everything instantly available to them, they can see all the appropriate stuff. If there are additional layers that you should have brought in to make it clear, if we brought in the flooding layer or the conservation area or the sites of special scientific interest, if they impact on this planning application, you can just put them there ready to go when the decisions are being made. And then we've already discussed this, because you're already in the record for the planning application under discussion. When the council says, okay, we vote to be in support of this, you can just go in ahead and make a note that you've supported it on this date, and it's all done. So no time wasting for the parish clerk later. You've done it all for her or him during the meeting itself. So this is where I'm trying to show that Parish Online is very useful to parish clerks, because it saves them time, providing that it's somebody else is making the work, doing the work for them in the middle of the meeting. Right. So everything else on the agenda, you may have a footpaths report, in which case the public rights of way can be shown up. Again, Village Hall will say, we're going to have the summer fete, we're going to put the marquee for this there, but we're going to put the hamburger stand over there, and people can see. So we've got a project running about upgrading the playground. You can discuss the budgets and everything else, again, all within Parish Online. So you save people a lot of time and trouble, and you're giving councillors a much broader picture of decisions that they're making, and hopefully they'll make better decisions. All right. I think we've touched on this in the past, but it's worth spending time on. South Somerset has already made the decision to buy Parish Online's big brother, which is XMAP. So the geographical information system that South Somerset is using is indeed the big brother to Parish Online. Now that's a transition, they're still moving towards it, but an awful lot of the data that South Somerset has is now going to be available automatically to Parish Online users such as yourself, which is really great, because they don't necessarily recognize that what they've got is of interest to you down at the parish level or a town level. Are you a town council at Carn, or are you still a parish?
We are a town council.
Okay.
We are Wiltshire Council as opposed to South Somerset.
You're kidding. I'm so sorry. I beg your pardon. Well, Wiltshire is a unitary and they ought to have done this, but my bet is that they haven't. So what I mentioned here for your benefit is that Geosphere offer to do all the work for the council involved. So if Wiltshire is not putting out, say, all of its planning applications into Parish Online, then all you need to do is to find the right person within the Wiltshire Unitary and say, we want to get this done, and you don't have to worry about finding the time or resources to do it. Geosphere will do it for you at no charge, which is hugely useful. The other thing I offer to people is that when they're trying to get something done at the unitary level, do not, under any circumstances, contact the Geographical Information Systems team, the GIS people, nor the IT people. The person you're looking to deal with, I'm sure you know this already, but I'll just mention it as if you weren't, is the officer in the unitary who's charged with customer service, or whatever they call it. They call it different things depending on which county you're talking to, but there is going to be somebody whose job it is to make sure that the customers are being looked after, and the customers to a county or a unitary are the town and parish councils. So if you want something done, don't go to the IT department, go to the customer service director or the CEO or the customer service officer, whoever it is, and get him. It might be called client service, it might be called customer service, it may be called experience manager, whatever it happens to be. They've all got new jargon nowadays. But that's the person who gets things moving, because he's charged with providing service to the customers, and you're the customer. So a lot of governments or levels of government don't seem to have latched on to this yet, but they are getting there slowly. And just to boost your morale, my experience is that once they've got the message, they can't stop being helpful. So typically one thinks of higher levels of government as being unresponsive, uncooperative, and unhelpful. They tend to get sort of caught up in their own importance, and they forget that what they're actually doing is working on behalf of the public and their clients, who is you. And you can remind them of that and say, you know, we can take all this workload off you, get Geosphere to do it. They're amazingly fast. So Geosphere can come in and pick up a database and export it into Parish Online and set it up to run automatically thereafter in about 3 minutes. It's very quick. So it'll take an IT department 4 or 5 days to work out what to do and how to do it. And they'll say it's very difficult and impossible, and they haven't got anybody who's got 5 days spare. But you can say, well, look, why don't you give the rights to Geosphere for 3 minutes, and they'll set it all up, and then you can turn off their rights so that they don't get back in again, which is obviously a good security issue. But thereafter, any changes they make in their data are being automatically exported to Parish Online. Really helpful stuff. And again, if I've not mentioned it to you before, I can't remember, I'm sorry, but it does work both ways. Parish Online can export its data up to their level of Unity, because it's a geographical information system itself. It obeys the correct formats, it obeys the correct procedures. So if they think that you down at the town level have a better understanding of the local footpaths or the grit bins or whatever it is that you're responsible for, you can update their information by their giving Parish Online the rights to update. So it's can be a two-way system. It's very difficult getting government at higher levels to trust the lower levels enough to let them interfere with their data. But when it does work, it's brilliant. And there is, I think the next pages, I show you what Parish Online is looking at now at doing themselves, because the whole world is sort of ought to be very, very worried about climate. A lot of councils have declared a climate emergency, but having declared it, then they're saying, now what? And these are some of the things I'm about to show you, which you can do. So has Cairn declared a climate emergency?
Yes, it has, yeah.
It have, okay. So some of this you may find of interest to somebody in one of your colleagues, if they're responsible for the climate emergency. So I'm just showing you examples here of what we've done, but I think I've shown you these before. So we're getting these catchment areas, which is of great interest to parents. And again, public map means that they're always updated and everyone can always see them. Ditto for gritting routes and footpaths and all sorts of things. So there are various ways of choosing how you would show a planning application. So the bottom right is how it comes out from SSDC in our case, which shows you, which is not as necessarily as helpful as either showing the applications on a map like this, or showing them as points on a map like this. So basically you can choose whichever system seems most appropriate for your area, but there are plenty of options available. So conservation areas I've mentioned in passing, but they're an export from this case, Somerset Heritage people. You will have your own view in Cairn. Why did I think Cairn? Oh, I'm muddling you up with Chard. I do beg your pardon. That's probably an insult, but never mind, Robert. We've got you established now as being in Wiltshire. Okay. So all these sorts of things are available. They are, depending on where you are and depending on how helpful or cooperative your local tiers of government are, or in the case of, Somerset Heritage, it's a private organization, but they've got stuff that's really useful to the parishes. So you can find places within Wiltshire that will do the same thing. And again, I'm very delighted to talk to people to show them how easy it is, what the advantages are, and basically to help get more people familiar with Parish Online and making Parish Online more helpful by having more data in it. So I think this is all, yes, what we just said. So you're looking for a customer services director or whatever it happens to be, and this is a two-way street. Sorry. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. Parish Online can help the upper levels of government by making things easier to report. So reporting incidents with coordinates showing where the fly tipping is that the council's got to go and clear up, or where potholes are, can save them a lot of time and money, because they just nowadays can send their vehicle to that precise coordinate. Again, if you've got someone who's driven into a street sign, or the kids have defaced it and damaged it, take a photograph of it, send it in with the coordinates, and immediately the county know what size sign they want, which one they want, and basically there's a lot of time and money saved by people arriving at the right place with the right sign, and they know where to go. We've mentioned, I think, during the tools discussion in 101, the asset register export. Again, it takes less than a minute to generate, and it may save your town clerk a lot of time and trouble. I think most of this is straightforward. There is a facility for labeling within Parish Online, but if areas get very tight and confused, it's sometimes easier to do the labels yourself as a separate layer. I just mentioned that as one of the things that people have come up with. If they have issues with labeling, then they can just, this is the workaround. We discussed annotations being temporary earlier. We discussed checking the toggle mask if your printing is not coming out the way you expect it to be. And we discussed, when going through the print menu, that there is a custom option in the scale box where you can get exactly the scale that you need for fitting everything that you want into that one little print square. Oops, sorry. We discussed, I didn't mean to do that, did I? Yeah, here we go. We discussed the community forum, and there's a link here to it for getting issues resolved. And there's the banter sessions on Friday afternoon, which I think I've sent you the link for, but you can find them. The link is in the group sessions timetable on the website. So it's very much set up for people just to drop in, ask a question, and then get out again. No one's going to be hurt if you don't stay for longer than 3 minutes, but it's a way of saving you time, then it's well worth doing. Okay. For your people dealing with climate emergency, there is the CO2 calculator built into Parish Online. Do you know about this?
No, I've seen that there's a climate and emergency kind of layer, but I wasn't aware.
Okay,
of...
well, yes, but it's not immediately obvious how you get into this calculator. But if you go to any parish boundary and click on it, then the option comes up to take the CO2 calculator, and this is what it comes up with. And this is an interesting thing. I won't spend time on it now, but people can see what the in their area, what the CO2 generation is on a per household basis or a per industry basis. So how much is the farmland producing, how much is agriculture, how much is transport, how much is shipping. People think that shipping is funny because there aren't any ships in Caen, but the stuff that comes into Caen may very well have come by ship. So it takes that into account and gives you an idea. So if your climate emergency people are setting policies on how are we going to get the best bang for the buck on reducing CO2, this calculator can give them a very clear indication of where to go. It's also got a comparison option, so you compare how you're doing with local areas around you, and you can see whether they've got things right that you haven't, or vice versa. So it's a powerful tool, very interesting to use, and if they don't know about it, then you can win all sorts of kudos by pointing out that they've already got it in Parish Online. The next one, you mentioned seeing the sort of climate emergency stuff or the climate thing. This is one of the ones that comes out, is the emergency performance, sorry, the energy performance certificates, the EPCs. And basically they give you the option of saying which buildings will be most easily moved to the C rating, which is what the government is shooting for by 2035 or something. They want every building in the country to be at least a C rating.
Yeah.
So your council is going to have to decide how they're going to help that. So they show you from these charts which buildings will benefit from upgrades and which is the low-hanging fruit, because they tell you which points, how many points you're going to win by upgrading this particular building as opposed to that one. So particularly for your people setting policies or strategies, this is a great tool to help them say, we've got, £5,000 available. What's the best way of employing it? And you can take a look and see which of the buildings in Caen do or do not have high-level certificates for the energy performance. And obviously you want to boost the ones that are low. You can do that on a council basis, i.e. which buildings does the council own that need to be upgraded, but you can also do it on a policy basis for your general public. If you've got a whole area where all the houses can just make a huge difference just by upgrading their roof insulation or their attic insulation, then you may decide to policy, let's give £1,000 towards each homeowner or something as being the best way of getting to where we're shooting for. So again, it's an option within Parish Online that can be helpful to them. Another one it's coming up is, I really like these ones. So basically, Parish Online is working with an external organization, I think called Energio, or Energio, whatever they want to call themselves, who are doing analysis of satellite photographs. So they're using artificial intelligence to say, let's see all the buildings in the country that have south-facing roofs. So they're suitable for putting solar panels on. And then let's take a look at the satellite photograph and see which ones already have solar panels. And now we'll highlight in red the ones that are not, which again is giving your climate emergency people something to aim for. Well, where are we going to best put solar panels on which buildings don't already have it? So that's helpful. If they're discussing electronic vehicle charging points, then the same people, Energio, are presenting maps that say, if you have a house that doesn't have a driveway, it's difficult to put a charging point there, which is not going to interfere with people with cables crossing pavements and so forth, because the cars are parked outside the house and you don't want cables tripping over pedestrians. So what they've done is said all the houses in red do not have driveways, and therefore they would benefit from having a charging point somewhere near. And the nearest available point is the parking lot, which is a public car park owned by the council. So you should be putting in X number of charging points in there to satisfy the buildings all within a 5-minute walk or whatever. So it's just another way of looking at the situation. And they can do the same thing with, if you're talking about community heat pumps or anything else community-wise, then and energy. Parish Online is a great way of demonstrating to people trying to make policy decisions and certainly budget decisions on how to get the best bang for the buck, basically. So that's your hints and tips session, all done, Robert. We now move to the section where you can ask any questions if you have any. You may well feel that we've discussed everything already.
Yeah,
how's your brain reeling?
Yeah, not too bad. It's good, just refreshing stuff, I think, which is ideal. And like you say, you kind of think of mapping as it can only be used for mapping, but actually in this setup, it's much more, it's got much more value to it. So that's really interesting.
I think that having invested in Parish Online, can now do a lot more with it than they probably thought when they first bought it. Definitely. Are you going to be the gospel messenger, the person that's?
Yeah, I was the one that was pushing to get it, and actually ended up paying for it out of my own budget because I was that keen on getting it. But I think now the value's being seen in it, and obviously we just need to maximize our use from it. So I'm already. One of the main things I've used it for recently was I worked with the company that are kind of responsible for surveying and looking after Wiltshire Council's lighting columns.
All right. Okay.
And they sent some data through for like the positions of the lighting columns and the information in regards to that. But what I might do, because I obviously picked up on it through this training course, was if they were willing to work with or liaise with Geosphere, wasn't it, or XMAP?
Yeah.
Whether or not they would just do a bulk transfer of all the data to them, and then Geosphere could put it in.
Yes, they would. They have said they've done that, provided that your company can provide the geographic coordinates for each streetlight.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure they've got. So the answer to your question is absolutely. So by all means, just send a message to support@geosphere.com.
Yeah. And
make that suggestion to them. I think you'll be very impressed with the answer, because I think it's a great idea. Great idea. If you need to persuade other members of the council of areas in which they can use Parish Online, I'm very happy to give a presentation to them or support you, as the local area champion, if you will, if that helps.
Yeah, quite possibly.
If you want to get the budget moved to somebody else's budget.
Yeah. I think it will be put on the right one going forward, but it was just, like I say, I was that keen on doing it because I can see the value in it. That
well, if you can start producing things that people see the value in that, then that's also a great session. Good.
Yeah, definitely. Lovely.
Well, you're very welcome. I'll see you again at 3 o'clock.
Yes, perfect.
If that works for you.
Yeah, that should be fine.
We can run those two straight into each other if you like.
Yeah, that'll work well for me. That'd be brilliant.
Okay, Robert. Lovely to talk to you. Take care.
Yes, I shall see you later.
Indeed. Bye-bye.
Ta-ra.